Talladega, NASCAR heads to Bama for some high-speed beating and banging. We break it down with our DFS tiers and best bets next on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two fucking spades.
All right, and welcome down the Backroad. No Elliott Hicks tonight. No Rod Villagomez tonight. Rod's out serving our country, and we got Elliott serving away for Pitt Athletics. We appreciate them. And that means you're stuck with me, Seth Woolcock, as we head to Talledega for 500 miles of high-speed super speedway racing in both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. This is the track where NASCAR told Daytona, hold my beer. We're going to make something bigger, faster, and a little bit better here over in Alabama. And let's be honest, this is a very, very difficult track to handicap because shit can hit the fan at any single moment. We saw it both at Daytona, we saw it at Atlanta, and hell, we even saw it at Texas last weekend as well. But the excitement continues to grow around this event each and every year. I have a lot of casual NASCAR fans who are friends of mine who will text me this weekend, usually asking for advice because it's Talladega, man. Everything's bigger in Talladega. So super excited to have you guys in here tonight for the Backroad. We have some really interesting markets to dissect tonight that I'm happy to get to. The agenda for tonight, we're going to react to the Backroad. We're going to break down Talladega. We're going to do our best bets. We're actually going to do that first this week, and then we'll do DFS rankings at the end because DFS is going to change a shit ton between what I give you here tonight, Thursday night, and what happens here on Sunday just because of the qualifying order. You're really going to be playing people in the back, hoping for those differential points if you're playing over on DK this week. Looks like we already have some friends in the chat tonight. Looks like we got Ross hanging out with us. What's up, Ross? Thanks so much, man, for tuning in here with us. I appreciate everyone in the IBT family who tunes in with us each and every week on the Backroad. We're very close to that 1,000 subscriber mark, so it doesn't happen without this community that we're building. It likes, tunes into every video, comments in the chat. Let us know right now. We're running a poll. Let us know, was Texas a good race? Because I know there was a lot of Chase Elliott fans flooding Jeff Gluck's poll. I know there was a lot of Denny haters flooding that poll. I don't think that was a good race, at least not from the betting or a DFS perspective. I'm a little bitter Barry this week, though. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Also of note for the company, we're heading to Dover next weekend. We're going to have some great live at-track coverage for you, so make sure you guys are tuned into the channel. Make sure you're plugged away with Elliott's Twitter, my Twitter as well, and the site's Twitter. Happy to bring you guys some more on-site coverage here this year. But yeah, let's start. Let's look back at Texas a little bit before we talk Talladega here in the rear view. All right, and we're talking Texas. And listen, I came into last week and I said from a betting perspective, from a DFS perspective, expect some fuckery, man. Like Texas Motor Speedway, they have that bump in turn 2 that they did not properly take out when they are repaving this. And it causes issues. It causes issues primarily in the Cup Series where we saw it on Sunday. Looking back at Friday, I didn't have much skin in the game in the Truck Series because I really didn't know what to expect here. We saw the big crash at the end of the 2023 truck race at Talladega. I was maybe expecting something similar. Kyle Busch gets away with it. Had some really good competition. Nick Sanchez looked fast. Corey Heim looked fast at the end. Were you guys on Corey Heim at all? I'd like to know that because I saw some 11-1, 12-1 numbers flowing out on him after practice and qualifying there Friday night. They both have good runs, second and third for Heim and Sanchez. Eckes had a good night as usual. Kind of your regulars up there in the Truck Series. But I'd love to know if anyone cashed any Kyle Busch outrights as well, because I'm usually the guy who's running to the counter each and every weekend when Kyle Busch is firing up in the Truck Series. But just based on what we had kind of seen so far from him in the Truck Series, based on what we had seen so far from him in the Cup Series this year, I couldn't do it. I couldn't swallow the I think it was plus 175, maybe plus 150 after qualifying. I wasn't interested in Kyle Busch at that price. I was willing to, miss that outright. Looks like we got Joey in the chat. What's up, Joey? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Rachel as well, popping in to say hi. Hey, Rachel, thanks for stopping in tonight. But yeah, Kyle Busch, he gets another truck win for him. And I think he has one more eligible race this year. So I will possibly be down on Kyle Busch, but it's going to be damn near even money if you do approach Kyle Busch at that next track that he's in for the Truck Series. Let's talk about the Xfinity Series, probably the race of the weekend. Oh my gosh, the Xfinity Series last year, everyone on Twitter was saying it. I think the Xfinity Series is better than the Cup Series. I wasn't buying it. I think I'm sold, man. I think I'm sold after seeing what I saw in Texas. Pretty clean racing, honestly, from the entire bunch down there. Hats off to a lot of guys like Taylor Gray who saved it early in that race, and a couple other sketchy moments for some young drivers who were able to keep it together there, keep it on track. And honestly, I was riding the Justin Allgaier ticket heavy. I was riding Cole Custer heavy for a top 5. Cole Custer comes through for the Backroad boys once again with the top 5. But man, Justin Allgaier, this guy cannot get it done. Whether it was at Phoenix when his tire blows out and he goes around, or if it's here at Texas where 2 years in a row now, Justin Allgaier has swept the stages at Fort Worth, and he just cannot get it done. Comes out, there's a little bit of fuckery in the pits, and we get a bunch of JR Motorsports cars out in front. We saw Ryan Sieg, we saw Sam Mayer, and we saw Brandon Jones all kind of get out in front there at Texas. Ryan Sieg ends up what we think could possibly be running away with his first ever Xfinity Series win. I had a couple friends in the industry, Sean Engel. I was on with him last night over his Fantasy Gurus podcast, and Sean was riding the 100-1 outright ticket on Ryan Sieg. Holy cow. Holy cow. Ultimately, Sam Mayer comes back, passes Ryan Sieg on the last lap, almost overshoots the turn. Ryan Sieg didn't beat and bang him enough up into the wall. Sam Mayer cashes. Still a pretty nice long shot ticket for anyone who plays him. I think it was 13-14-1 at some places pre-practice and qualifying. So Sam Mayer gets it done. Avenges some bad loss early on there. Looks like we got some love for Ryan Sieg in the chat. Spry Sheep saying, I'm so heartbroken for Sieg. Dude, me too. When I saw that Allgaier couldn't win it and that I was kind of SOL, I was like, all right, at least I get to see Ryan Sieg get his first win. No, I didn't, man. Ross Sieg saying Ryan Sieg is my first cousin. Is that for real, Ross? Are you serious, man? If so, like, that's awesome, because I think the Siegs are a great story, man. You don't get many family-owned tracks anymore in this space, let alone family-owned racing teams. So if that's the case, man, sorry, dude. Sorry, man. That was probably a total bummer. He handled it classy, though. I would have been pissed. I don't know if I could have talked to the reporters after it. Ryan Sieg is a class act, and he's going to get one, man. Even the books are kind of hanging him out. Again, I think he's 30-1 some places, 25-1, almost plus money for a top 10. Hey, we got Xfinity top 10 odds, guys. We'll talk about those later in the chat. But yes, sorry for Ross and Ryan and the entire Sieg family. But shout out Sam Mayer for getting it done there for JR Motorsports in the Cup Series race. I was pretty light in the Cup Series last weekend, except I was heavy on one man, the Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain. And guys, I had to leave the room. I had to walk outside. I slammed the door and just walked away because I can't get William Byron right. And then I don't know if Byron is in the right in that situation coming down to the end of it where Byron ultimately takes Ross out, tries to score second place. Ultimately, that goes to Brad Keselowski. But man, that was tough. That was a tough beat. Had not only the outright on Ross, also was riding top 5 and top 10 ticket. So it was really tough. Like, the in-car camera kind of makes it look like it was Ross's fault a little bit, but looking from it not in car, like, it looks like Byron just kind of bumped him out of the way. So Ross in the chat saying 24 was wrong. That's what I feel now. That's what I felt in the moment, but there's some different opinions out there. So I don't know. It's tough. And how about Kyle Larson? Kyle Larson, all weekend I was not on Kyle Larson. I found him hanging out there like plus 450 to win on Sunday morning. I was like, yeah, I'll throw a couple shekels on him, see what Kyle Larson will do. And then Elliott was like a half hour before me because I usually start the race like half hour late, try to jump through some commercials in stage one. Elliott texts me, Texas fuckery. And I just say, oh no. And then I see the Bowman crash. I said, he's a Bowman fan. Elliott is co-host of the Backroad here most weeks. And I was like, oh man, Bowman went out. And no, sure enough here, it was Kyle Larson. What he was talking about there, losing his wheel, a couple of suspensions there for his team as well. But Denny Hamlin goes for the win at the end. He gets loose up in that ice and goes around Bubba Wallace. Pretty much almost took Chase Briscoe out at one point. So just a bad weekend for me. I'm going to be honest. One of the worst weekends I've had gambling in a while and playing DFS. I was very high up in a couple DFS tourneys. I had some very optimal drivers in a lot of lineups. Daniel Hemrick, Brad Keselowski, Chase Briscoe, but I had Ross in almost every single one of them. So it was a tough one, man. It was a tough one. Ross saying you need 4 tires to win a race. Yeah, dude. Yeah, absolutely, man. I just here are a couple takeaways I think from Texas, and we'll wrap it up here before we jump into Talladega. But Texas is a race not worth betting on, guys. Like, honestly, because it's priced like a half-mile track, but it's more unpredictable than a super speedway because of the things that are happening. So I'm just probably not going to be betting on Texas much next year. I tried to scale back my units this year. I was about half of what I usually am for a race. I'm going to be scaling back even more next year. Just maybe placing a couple long shots or something. And then shout out Chase Elliott. We haven't even said his name. We're 11 minutes into the program. Chase Elliott gets it done here. Did Chase have the best car? I don't think so. I think I was probably Larson, Hamlin, potentially even Ross, but Chase Elliott gets it done, man. He was sticking Hamlin outside on those restarts. He shot down underneath him when he was in third on one of the restarts to overtake 2 for 1 there. So Chase Elliott, dude, he did everything he needed to do. He gets back in the winner circle, and he's someone now I can consider for an outright. I bet him one time earlier this year, and then I said I'm not going to bet Chase. I'm okay with losing out on the outright if he hits it because it had just been so long. I've been putting so many outright tickets out there for Chase. So happy to see him back in the winner circle. I think this does a lot for his camp. Pressure on now, Alex Bowman, man. Can Bowman get a win? Bowman might be someone sneaky here the next couple weeks. Let's go ahead though. Let's look forward to what's coming up this weekend here and talk about Talladega as we put a mediocre Texas weekend behind us. It's the Horizon Forecast coming at you.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
All right, so we're going to be breaking down Talladega. And as we said, this is the biggest track in NASCAR, 2.66 miles super speedway, and it's wider than most of these traditional super speedways, which can actually kind of help from a betting perspective. I feel like we don't see as many crazy cautions at Talladega as we do back there down in Daytona. So I kind of like Talladega from a betting perspective. A lot of times we do get top 20 odds. We get to lead a lap odds. Those are my favorite markets at super speedways. We didn't have any this week, but still some potential soft lines we'll get to. And I'm still expecting the fuel mileage bullshit that keeps happening in the Cup Series to very much be a factor on Sunday. I'm actually looking forward to more of the Xfinity series because they're still going to be saving fuel. Whoever is leading laps is not going to be the most fuel efficient car out there, but the fuel mileage bullshit just doesn't really do it for me. So strategy is going to be a big thing, man. So you're going to want drivers who ultimately are good on pit road. Their crew chief and their team overall have some good strategy baked into it here. We can look at some primary comps here. Obviously, we'll be looking at Daytona. The secondary comp also Atlanta, but Talladega also kind of drives more like Atlanta. So I almost consider this like a 1A and a 1B comp. I'm going to be looking at Daytona more, but definitely can weigh Atlanta too because it's a little bit wider than Daytona. Daytona was so slim there. All right, looks like we got some love from Lana in the chat saying, yeah, Chase. I knew that we'd have a couple of Chase Elliott fans here in the chat. Good to see you, Lana. Thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, and then looking at the schedule for this weekend, nothing too crazy Saturday morning. Wake up 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll get some practice and qualifying for the Cup Series. Xfinity then 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be delayed there too. I'm gonna be traveling back, so don't spoil it. Don't text me. Don't drop comments or anything here on the channel. Let me know. And then Sunday, actually, as of right now, we got about a 65% chance of rain. No lights at Talledega, so this one's going to have to be either run during the day. We got to hope maybe the rain subsides, or we could be looking at a Monday race, which kind of a bummer. I don't love Monday races, man. Like, it is what it is. Martin Truex, you might want to bet him if we go to Monday. But 3 p.m. Eastern time, Cup race on Sunday. Stages, lap 60, lap 120, lap 188. At least some pretty even stages this week. And I kind of don't love the races that it's like the huge third stage. It makes it a little more difficult to handicap sometime. Ross, he's going to the race Saturday. Good. Ross, you were a smart man, because that's exactly what I would do. Go Saturday. Are you camping, Ross? I would love to know if you're camping or staying down there to see the Broadway party Saturday night. I want to go to Talladega bad, man. That's like the one that I'm like, I'm from Pennsylvania, from very far north, so a lot of these tracks are pretty far away from me. From like, I'm eye on Talladega, man. I want to see just the stars are out on Saturday night. I'd love to go down on a Saturday, catch the race, hang out, and sounds like I'm a great one down there, Ross. Let's talk some trends here, guys, for Dega. Just some notes that I found. Again, very much of a bet who you want to bet. Make sure you have a shotgun approach this week, but there are some interesting trends. There were 2 rain shortened qualifyings a couple years ago, but with that still being said, Joe Gibbs Racing has actually won 7 of the last 8 poles here at Talladega. I couldn't believe that, honestly. I was really, really surprised to see that. But as I tweeted that out on Twitter, and a lot of people said, well, yeah, but they were terrible qualifying at both Atlanta and at Daytona. And yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Like, I don't think JGR wins, but like Chris Bell's out there, I think like 10-1, and Denny's like a 6-1 for qualifying. So if you guys are interested in those markets, I wouldn't mind. Like, even Martin Truex is 20-1. I think Ty Gibbs 20-1 right now in Caesars for qualifying. So JGR, for whatever reason, they seem to have this pure speed when we come to Talladega a lot of time off the truck. I'd expect maybe something similar as well. But I also really like Ford this week. We'll talk more about that. And while getting the pole is awesome, the starting second here has actually produced more winners than any other position. So keep that in mind. Whoever's sitting on that outside row, front row, you're going to potentially want to have them in some DFS lineups or some betting cards this weekend. Brad Keselowski currently leads the field with 6 Talladega wins, followed by Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano with 6 each. All the old Penske boys, of course, Brad K, now RFK Racing, but still, like, these are the guys who generally win, and we haven't seen a lot of long shots here at Dega lately. It's been a lot of your Ryan Blaney's, your Logano's, Hamlin's won it, Chase Elliott's won it. But I think maybe we could have a long shot. Eric Almirola won this with a long shot, I think, right before COVID. So maybe we could see a potential long shot this week, and it's due. Last stat I'll give you here, the last time we had a new Dega winner was the 2022 spring race. That was Ross Chastain. And 3 active drivers have had their first win come at Talladega. Brad Keselowski in 2009, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back in 2017. I remember you guys remember that one. And then Bubba Wallace, that rain-shortened race in 2021 as well. So there's a lot of guys right now in the Cup Series who need a first win. Ryan Preece, all these rookies right now, Carson Hocevar, Ty Gibbs still searching for that elusive first win as well. So maybe it comes this weekend. Ross saying Brad K is his pick for the W. Listen, a lot of love right now on the internet for Brad Keselowski. A lot of love. I've been talking to some people, and like, it would make sense, right? Chase just got his first win in a long time. Could Brad finally get the monkey off his back? He probably could have won Daytona last fall, for being honest with you guys. Kind of let Buescher have it, made sure his company wins. He's a company man, of course. But that brings us right to our iFantasyRace.com's Asterisk Driver of the Week. It is Brad Keselowski. You were right on it, Big Ross. Brad Keselowski might have been one of the best falls or best cars last fall at Talladega, but he finished 32nd in that race. Keselowski led 5 laps, drove up to the front, and then won stage 2, if you guys remember as well. But in the last stage, while he's mid-pack, Carson Hocevar gave him a little bit of a bump, collected himself, sent him all the way to the back, kind of ended up losing his day because of it. So, listen, I hear you, Ross. Brad Keselowski is dangerous on Talladega. It would be fitting for him to win this race. He said in an interview earlier this season as well. I can't remember who put out the tweet. I'd love to see it. But he put out an interview that this is like a crown jewel event for him. So I think Brad Keselowski is dangerous. But the thing you got to keep in mind is he's kind of checkers or wreckers right now. How many times at both Daytona and Atlanta this year were you looking back in the pack and it was Brad Keselowski wrecking people? Like on DBC, they were laughing and joking about it because, I mean, the guy just couldn't keep the car straight. So I'm a little hesitant to bet him. If you want to bet him, I bet him on the outright, and I'm probably not taking him like any prop markets, honestly, because I just don't trust him. But I think he's like 10-1, 11-1 most books. So if you want to shoot your shot there, I'm absolutely fine with it. There might be, depending how he unloads this weekend, there might be a chance that I'll potentially be getting down on him before Sunday's race, but it's checkers or wreckers for Brad. And I think that's kind of what we're even seeing, like Ryan here at ifantasyrace.com, which is a great partner for us. If you guys haven't checked out ifantasyrace.com, please go ahead and do it. It's where I get a lot of my data for the week, everything from, even just the weekend schedule at the track, and then everything from his custom total speed rankings and loop data. You got to make sure you're checking out Ryan and iFantasy Race. But Brad Keselowski, checkers or wreckers, we'll see. I like him a little more for DFS, I think, this week. Let's go ahead, guys. Usually we jump right into our tire tiers, but this is actually a week that I prefer to bet a little bit more than I do to play DFS, just because so much is going to be changing here from when I gave you advice on Thursday night to Sunday. So let's go ahead. Let's get into some props. Let's get into some outrights here and parking garage props. All right. So we always start talking about bets, talking about the books, and what do we have this week? And honestly, my first note, I think we got them early. We got them early, at least like Monday. They around like, oh, okay. They're trying to do something, but it was some watered down cookie cutter bullshit. Honestly, I was not happy because Talledega is one of those races where anything could happen. So I love betting top 20s. You get a little more predictability, or the lap leaders. Like there weren't a lot of fun stuff like that. Wasn't a lot of fun specials out there, I felt like, either. So I was kind of jaded. I'm not gonna lie with you. But then, honestly, two things to note. Caesars has this like backdoor bullshit that you can get in. It's like a totally different UI. You have to click on some different stuff. They coined it over the NASCAR gambling podcast, the Speakeasy, the Caesar Speakeasy. So they have like some top 16s. You can bet top 16s over there, some over unders and stuff like that. I have one of those bets here that I'll talk about tonight, but the Xfinity series, guys, we're going to talk a little more Xfinity series tonight than we usually do on the program, because I think there's some great value out there. And for the first time since I've been betting the Xfinity series, which it's really only this year, I would casually bet it last year. I tail more than putting out my own cards, but the Xfinity series has been great this year. And now we have top 10 odds for the Xfinity series heading to Talledega. That is sweet. That is special. That's at Caesars, the only place I've seen that. So if you guys haven't seen that before, make sure you're checking that out over at Caesars. We got Sean Engel on the chat. What's up, Sean? Good to see you, man. I was actually with Sean yesterday on his podcast, and I was telling him, man, I'd love to bet top 10 in Xfinity. And then I woke up today and I was listening to the NASCAR gambling podcast, said, oh, hey, we got top 10 for Xfinity. So we'll be chatting about that. Stan saying, bet of the week at Stuart Haas, minus 115 over Trackhouse. I get 4 bullets to 2 at almost even money. I like that. I actually really like that, Stan. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm high on SHR this week, and like both of these Trackhouse guys, they're a bit checkers and wreckers this week too. Like Chastain, really high up in the total speed rankings, has some really, really good metrics here. So yeah, I imagine you're finding that over at Caesars, that prop there, Stan. I would definitely be interested in that. 4 bullets to 2 at almost even money, especially when you got a guy like Briscoe who's going to be fast. Gragson was top 10 at Daytona. Yeah, I don't mind it at all, Stan. We got Bob Bodner in the chat saying, I like Love this week. Looked great at both Daytona and Atlanta. Yeah, man, I was riding him in Atlanta. And then we had that fuel mileage stuff happen in the end, all the green, white checkers, and he ended up having to pit. I do like Love too. I haven't put anything on Love yet. Bob, I think I'm just a little jaded still from him, but I don't mind the call at all. Austin Hill right now is out there at 4-1. We'll talk about it. Let's start there, actually. Let's start in the Xfinity series. I think that's a good place to start tonight if you guys are cool with that. Let me know in the chat what your guys' thoughts are on Xfinity. Do you guys have any favorite Xfinity bets this weekend? But we're going to go ahead and start there tonight. All right, let me pull this up. All right. We got the Xfinity's ripping off. I'm going with 4 different outrights this weekend, the Xfinity series, guys. The first one's, you just have to take Big Country here. Austin Hill outright, 4-1. It's a tough price to swallow at Talledega. I get it. But this guy, for some reason, especially at super speedways, just seems to be around. I don't know what else to say than he just seems to be around. So even if you're just covering your ass a little bit, put something on Austin Hill outright, I think. Like 4-1 is a steep price, but the guy, if you look back at all of his super speedway metrics here in the Xfinity series, he's good at it, man. So I'm okay with 4-1 for Xfinity outright for Austin Hill. My guy Mark Harris, Skybox NASCAR, he is the 21 shaved into his chest this weekend. So excited to see some pictures down there from him. My guy Rory Picks down there at Talladega. I also like Chandler Smith at 16-1 here on Caesars. I think that's a total misprice, guys, if I'm being honest with you, for the Xfinity series. Chandler Smith, top 5 at both Daytona, both Atlanta this year. Chandler's looked damn fast near everywhere. And he was even really good on the super speedways last year in colleague equipment. So I think to leave arguably the best car, the best driver right now in the series out there at 16-1, it's worth a sprinkle. It's worth a sprinkle. I absolutely think it is. I also will say, man, I love Parker Kligerman this week at 18-1. Kligerman's finishes here the last 2 years in Xfinity, 6th, 3rd. Also, when he raced here in Xfinity in the early 2010s, he had a top 5 as well. And thinking about Kligerman too, I think what's interesting is he's won twice here in the truck series. People kind of forget about that, but he was slicing and dicing back there in a truck at one point as well here at Talladega. He loves the super speedways. We saw him be a threat both at Daytona, both at Atlanta. So I like Parker Kligerman a lot this week. He's actually my bet of the week in the Xfinity series. I like him over Taylor Gray, -115 on Caesars. I went a full unit on that, which I usually don't bet a ton of super speedway matchups, especially at minus money. But man, like Taylor Gray's been a nice story. He feels a bit sketchy this week, guys. Feels a bit sketchy. We know he flipped at Daytona in the trucks. This is his first super speedway in an Xfinity car and looked kind of sketchy last week at Texas. Almost sailed it right in that first stage opening the laps. I just don't love Taylor Gray this week. I think Parker Kligerman against him, a veteran in this series, a veteran at super speedway racing. I like him against Sam Mayer this week too, -110 over at DraftKings. I think the wrong guy's favored in that matchup. You can also get Parker Kligerman +260 for a top 5. I'm down there as well, man. I think Parker Kligerman, he hasn't got the finishes he deserves this year, but that 48 car, I don't know what it is, but when they get to super speedways, man, they unload quick, and he's up there all damn day. Looks like we have some chats here to catch up on. Sean saying, I like the love call too. He did dominate Atlanta. RCR with his Xfinity usually does well at tracks with this rules package. 100%, man. 100%. We got Spry Sheep saying AJ Allmendinger holds the cup record for most Daytona races without a DNF. Might imply that he's good at staying out of trouble at these super speedways. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, man. Like AJ Allmendinger wins on ovals in Xfinity too. I've been thinking about Dinger all week and how to get invested with him. Just hasn't been his year really. Finally got it turned around. It felt like the last couple weeks in the Xfinity series, but I just don't love the trajectory for them right now. Same with Creed. Yeah. Ross in the chat saying Creed needs some good finishes. Absolutely, man. This guy just can't seem to stay out of his way. He was finally having a good race a couple weeks ago at Martinsville, goes for the dive bomb, gets himself all out of sorts. don't really love it, man. Don't really love what I've been seeing Creed, but he's good at Talladega. I was actually trying to fade Creed in a couple matchups this week, Ross, and then I looked at his stats and damn, he's kind of good at super speedway racing. So yeah, I think Creed could be potentially dangerous this week. He definitely needs it, and yeah, I wish Dinger is in the Cup Series, man. I was looking to potentially bet some Cup Dinger as well because that 16 car, man, that 16 car. I don't know what it is, guys, but that 16 car somehow always runs good here in the Cup Series as well. We even saw Kaz Grala jump in that thing 2021, and he had a top 10 finish as well. So Sean saying one driver that's underrated and could surprise is Jeb Burton. 25-1. Yeah. I don't mind Jeb Burton. What he won Dega here last year in Xfinity. He's won Dega before in Xfinity. So yeah, I don't mind it at all. Jeb Burton always has a place in my heart, man. I used to run him a lot out in my early days of NASCAR fantasy. He'd always be like my sixth driver usually. Spry Sheep hashtag trophy hunting. Yeah, man, colleague, definitely freaking trophy hunting. Let me tell you. Staying in the Xfinity series, a couple other bets I want to touch on here. One of my favorites bets of the week is we have to keep an eye out for Jordan Anderson Racing. I don't know why. They're another team that just seems to unload very fast here in the Xfinity series. A lot of people like Jordan Anderson. If you like Jordan Anderson, he's plus 120 for a top 10 over there at Caesars. I actually like Parker Redsloff this week. I don't know what it is, man, but like Parker Redsloff gets no respect. I don't know if it's because he's like a scrawny little dude like me who's just like wearing glasses and kind of looks funny and talks funny. But Parker Redsloff is a fucking beast at super speedways. Listen to these finishes, guys, for Parker Redsloff. This year at Daytona and at Atlanta, 3rd at Daytona, 5th at Atlanta. Last year, I'm just going to read through his finishes at super speedway: 7th, 16th, 7th, 27th, 7th, 3rd. Parker Redsloff, guys. Parker Redsloff. This guy, I think, is going to have some speed once again. He's 25-1 on the outright. Redsloff is. I got him there for about 2/10 of a unit. And then I'm also going a little bit on Parker, top 5 odds, half a unit. And then he's still even money right now for a top 10. I'm down on that as well. Parker Redsloff, I'm taking him the ladder the whole way up, man. He could be somebody who shows up and gets a little dicey this week. I like Parker a lot. Bob saying in the chat, because he's from Wisconsin. Yeah, I didn't even know he was from Wisconsin until this week. I'll do more research from not a lot of respect in the garage for the Wisconsin drivers. Jeb Burton is part of Jordan Anderson, funny enough too. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point there, Sean. Okay, here's a good one from Ross. Thoughts on SVG? Well, Ross, I'll tell you what. I got a top 10 bet for him in the Xfinity series, plus 120 at Caesars, going about 6/10 of a unit, and then 0.4 of a unit on the top 5 at plus 500. That's over at ESPN Bet. He's 4-1 a lot of places. 5-1. I was like, yeah, I can do 5-1. Listen, SVG is just getting better and better at ovals. It's been really impressive to see, specifically at the super speedways races. This is when you can bet SVG. The books are kind of backing down from him a little bit. He's 33-1 out there. I think I saw on ESPN Bet. No, I think it was Bet Rivers. He's 33-1, Ross. But I don't mind him 33-1 even to win this. I didn't take it, but I like him top 5. I like him top 10. The guy's getting better throughout the entire year, and top 12 at Daytona earlier this season, and then a top 3 at Atlanta. Obviously, some of that fuel mileage bullshit kind of factored into that, but like colleagues good, man. Colleagues good here. Really, really good here at these super speedways. So I think you can take a shot at SVG this week if you want. Like, again, I only have about a unit on him in total for Xfinity. I even like him in the Cup, though. I talked about it. This 16 shows up in Cup. So, yeah, I think SVG is going to be really good this week in Xfinity specifically, Ross. Let's see. What else do I have on the card for Xfinity? We talked Redsloff. We talked Kligerman, Chandler, Austin Hill. Sean asking in the chat, what do I think about Brennan Poole? 80-1 outright to win. Was 5th last year in JD Motorsports equipment. He's an Alpha Prime this year. Yeah, definitely an upgrade in equipment, Sean. You're definitely right. It's an upgrade of equipment, but I don't know. Brennan Poole is just one of those guys. I'm never going to bet on Brennan Poole. I'm going to be honest. Like, he's just been hanging around the back of the multiple series for too long for me to have much interest in him. My last bet before we jump over to Cup here, guys, in Xfinity, though, is Haley Deegan, top 10, plus 700. Plus 700 right now on Caesars. Thank you. Thank you, gambling gods. Thank you, Caesars, for giving us this. Listen, I know it's been tough for Haley Deegan this year in the Xfinity Series. She has not got a lot of the finishes she has deserved. However, 6th at Talledega in the trucks in 2022, 8th at Talledega in the trucks in 2023, 7-1, 7-1. Like, all she's got to do is finish 10th. We know there's going to be a handful of cars that are going to get wrecked out of this race. If she can somehow avoid it, she seems like she's a fucking magnet for it. But if she can somehow avoid it, this girl's talented, man. The car's not the best. I'd love to see her a little bit better of equipment, but 7-1, I'm taking the shot on Haley Deegan, man. I want to be like part of her first top 10 here in the Xfinity Series. So, love switching it up this week, talking a little Xfinity. Let's go ahead. Let's talk outrights now here for Cup. I'm on 3 outrights right now, guys. I'm on 3 outrights. I'm also taking them in some props. It's starting out with Ryan Blaney, 11-1 right now on Bet Rivers. And the cool thing about if you bet on Bet Rivers, Ryan Blaney this week, they have like a top 5 insurance promotion. So you can bet him outright. And if he still finishes top 5, you get your bet back. You get a free bet. So that's worth it for me for Ryan Blaney. I also like him under 9.5 at the Caesar Speakeasy. If you guys need help on how to find that, just hit me up on Twitter in the comments of YouTube and I'll try to direct you to it, but it's super hard to find. I don't know who designed their UI. It's very, very tough, but why I like Ryan Blaney this week, 7th in the Talladega next gen total speed rankings. And he wasn't even that fast in the fall, 20th in the total speed rankings and still won. That's his 3rd win of his career. His finishes in the next gen era here at Dega, 1st, 2nd, 11th. And he's been good at Talladega since he stepped into a Cup car. Finished 2nd in Atlanta. Had some really good speed that weekend. And this close, man. This close to beating Daniel Suarez. Ryan Blaney's due for some positive regression. You're going to hear me say the word positive regression a lot this week because I think Ford is due for some positive regression. And I think Blaney is. Blaney's had some of the fastest cars week in and week out. He just can't seem to get it done. 11-1. I know it's chalky. I'm taking the shot, guys. I'm taking the shot on Ryan Blaney this week. Also, all right, we're getting a little frisky, but I think this is a race you need to have a shotgun approach. You need to take a couple outrights because I bet 2 outrights at Atlanta, and I had the Kyle Busch, and I was kind of pissed that I didn't bet Daniel Suarez for an outright because I was high on him anyways. I had him in a lot of different markets. So if you like a guy for a prop this week in the Cup, I'm talking 0.1 of a unit. You know what I mean? Like just toss some sprinkles out there. But I tossed 0.3 of a unit on Chase Briscoe, 50-1 for the outright. I also like him top 10 plus 240. Chase Briscoe, man, he's been cashing tickets for us here at the Backroad last couple weeks. I played him in DFS last couple weeks. Right now, finishes at Talladega in the next gen era, 13th, 4th in this very race last spring, 10th. 37th, and that 37th, it was pretty much a starting park. Got involved in a crash right away, so I'm not really factoring that one in. And Chase Briscoe's hot right now, back-to-back top 10s, 4 on the season, including 1 at Daytona. I know there's been some love for Gragson out there. Gragson has looked way better than I think anyone thought he was going to. And Josh Berry at times has looked good too, but Briscoe's been the most consistent SHR. The pressure's on him a little bit, man. Like the pressure's on him. The pressure's on the whole organization. The pressure's on Ford as a whole. I think Briscoe at 50-1, guys. That's the people he's behind. He shouldn't be. So I like Chase Briscoe. I'm taking him kind of, doing that stack, the top 10 and the outright. I also like him against Ricky Stenhouse Jr. here. Even money at Caesars. Again, I'm not a huge matchup guy on super speedway. Some bullshit happens and you're done. But Briscoe is 3-1 versus Stenhouse in the next gen era. The only time he did is when he had that start in park. And I know Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is thought of as a really good super speedway racer. Of course, he won Talladega. What was that? 2017. We talked about it earlier. But his finishes here in the next gen, this is his worst super speedway track in the next gen. 22nd, 15, 22nd, 30. I'm just not expecting a lot out of Stenhouse. I think he's a little fool's gold this week. Like, if you want to take your shot in the DFS markets, that's fine. But yeah, I like Briscoe even money over Stenhouse. I think that's a misprice. I'm going to take my shot on that. That was one of my heavier bets of the weekend too. So let's go to placements, and I also have an outright sprinkle on this guy as well. Todd Gilliland, top 10, plus 240. Plus 240? Guys, Todd Gilliland, man. Not only did this guy lead 16 laps at Daytona, unloaded with a lot of speed at Daytona, started fourth at Atlanta, and led 58 laps. Like, what was Atlanta? Maybe like a month and a half ago. It wasn't that long ago that everyone was in here, everywhere across the internet saying, Todd Gilliland, this guy has speed. Front Row Motorsports in general has speed at these super speedways this season. And I think like positive regression is due for Toddy G, the Todd father, man. Still has not had a top 10 this season, yet he's looked really, really good at times. Probably the best he's looked early in the season in his 3 full-time cup seasons. And he especially loves Talledega. Finishes here include 12th, 10th, 7th, and 27th. Last year, I was on a top 20 bet for Todd Gilliland here. And I was like, man, he finished top 10. I should have been on top 10 too. So he's already done it 50% of the time in the next gen era. And the other time he didn't, he got 12th. Todd Gilliland, man. And yeah, dude, I threw a little bit on the outright 50-1 as well. Like I'm talking 0.1 of a unit. So I wouldn't be expecting much back there, but Todd Gilliland, dude, I really think like he's someone who could get his first win this weekend, and plus 240 just for a top 10. I'll take it. I'll take it. And we know, man, if anyone is out there who is willing to take a swing with some pit road strategies, a little bit of gamble, like I don't know Todd Gilliland's crew chief that well, but I bet he's a damn good time at the casino. I bet he's a fucking good gambler because this guy every weekend, Todd Gilliland, you're like, oh damn, there's a 38 car running inside the top 10 because this guy's taking some fucking swings. You know Todd Gilliland's going to be out in front, man. Let's ride it. Let's ride that one together. I'm excited about Todd Gilliland this weekend. Bob in the chat saying I had Suarez at Atlanta 35-1. Been good in Talladega. Yeah, man, I don't mind Suarez. There's a lot of love for Suarez out there on the internet too. Like, I just think it's really hard to win 2 races in a season, especially when you're Daniel Suarez. So I don't mind him. I don't mind him at all here. Let's see. I had some stats for Suarez pulled up as well. Like, it's tough for me because they haven't been there lately. Like, I feel like his good finishes here were a little bit longer ago. Oh, no, I'm completely wrong. So 34th at Daytona, not the best at Daytona the last couple years, but 10th at Talladega last year, 9th at Talladega the year before, or the race before, and then 8th the race before at Talladega. So he has 3 straight top 10s coming in. Like, that's why we liked him in Atlanta, Bob. So damn, Bob, you might be talking me into Daniel Suarez. Honestly, like, the finishes are there lately. 3 out of 4 in the next gen top 10s are good. You know, if he can be there at the end, which he has been, I don't mind Suarez, man. I might be taking a look. Especially like with someone like Suarez who doesn't qualify typically super well. I'll probably wait till after practice and qualifying because I think maybe that number could even grow. Maybe we see a 50-1 on Suarez or something. I don't know. Maybe the books don't want to get beat that bad on him. But I don't mind Suarez this week either. All right. Let's see. What other bets haven't we talked about? We've talked Ryan Blaney. We've talked Todd Gilliland. We've talked Briscoe. So it makes sense. Ford plus 180 at FanDuel, guys. Ford's about plus 170, plus 165 elsewhere. I like him plus 180 at FanDuel. You know, I'm getting a little bit more bang for my buck there. I went 6.6 of a unit on that. So not a full unit too still because there's a shit ton of Chevys in this field. But something to keep in mind with is like they haven't won all season, man. They got to get that first win, and like plus 180 at a track where Logano's unloaded fast earlier this season. Ford swept 1-2 at both Atlanta and Daytona. Like, Blaney's going to be up there. You know, RFK is going to be fast as well. Like, there's just a lot of good Ford value out there, man. I'm willing to take a shot in the manufacturers at plus 180 at FanDuel. So if you guys like that, let me know. Sean in the chat. Yeah, guys, let me know. We're going to switch over to DFS. So if you have any more betting questions, any more betting comments, let me know here before we switch over. Sean in the chat saying, someone I keep forgetting that I always end up liking is Eric Jones, 28-1 on DraftKings and some other books. Yeah, Eric Jones is fine, man. Like his finishes here, they're solid. They're not bad. I just don't know if Legacy has like the pure speed this year, man. Like we haven't, other than John Hunter Nemechek, I think leading a couple laps at Atlanta, we just haven't seen them out in front, man, which is kind of disappointing with them switching over to Toyota. So I don't know. I don't love it. Eric Jones, his finishes here though, just for the good of the order at Talledega, 26, 6, 6, 6. Oh, whoa. 6. Okay. 6 finishes for Eric Jones. Jeez. Okay. That's a little spooky there. I'm definitely not betting him now after seeing those numbers there, Sean. But hey, I mean, 3 top 6s in 4 races here in a 26, led 4 laps in this race last year. Yeah. Bob liking Jones as well. Yeah. I just like Sean at 28-1 isn't good enough for me. Let me check it, see what he's coming in at. But 26-1 for a guy who's looked as shitty as Eric Jones has this year just isn't worth it. And this is a guy who likes Eric Jones, man. Like I got a little bit of Eric Jones on the to win the championship, not because I think you win the championship, but because I think right now, like Eric, or earlier in the season, I thought you could maybe get a win from Eric Jones. He could sneak in the playoffs, you cash out at a profit. Yeah, Bob right now saying 28-1 is the best he can find. Eric Jones, I'm seeing 30-1 now on DraftKings. That might be a misprice, or it might be a misprint on Action Network's odds boards here, but I'm seeing 30-1. So yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like, can you get to 50-1? That's another one. Like, I would just wait on Eric Jones. I would just wait. I think I would just wait because I think that number gets bigger practice qualifying. So nothing against Eric Jones. If you guys have nothing else for me though, we can go ahead and we can jump over our DFS tiers. But yeah, like again, this is a week, lower the unit size. Like I might have more bets out there than I'm comfortable with, honestly, but I have a shotgun approach. And if one of these guys we talked about, whether it's in the Cup Series and it's a Blaney, a Briscoe, a Toddy G, and some of these other guys have been brought up in the chat, like Suarez, I think that was a great call out. Eric Jones, I'm not as high on Eric Jones, but take a shotgun approach this week in the Xfinity Series. I like the Parkers, the Kligermans, the Redsloffs, Chandler Smith's out there way too long, and Big Country, baby, he's on the card as well. So guys, let's go ahead now. Let's shift over to some DFS talk with our parking garage, or our tire cheers. All right, we are in for tire tiers, and I pre-ranked them this week. I didn't want to have to drag them around as I'm doing it live with you guys, so I pre-ranked them this week for you, and no doubt about it. Let's start with the A's. It's Ryan Blaney. If I'm paying up, and like honestly, I was a little surprised that DraftKings has so many guys priced over 10,000 for a super speedway. It kind of felt weird. Kind of felt like I really didn't want to invest in a lot of top tier drivers. Like, I think I'm going to have a couple lineups where I don't have anyone who's over 10K, just to kind of keep it slim, spread my wealth around a little bit. But if I am paying up, it's Ryan Blaney. We touched on him earlier in the show. Just really good at fucking Talladega, really good at super speedways. Got to be in the lineup. Also, Brad Keselowski. It's risky. But I mean, the track record at Talladega speaks for itself. He blew up your lineup if you played him at Daytona or Atlanta this week. -6 at Daytona, 3 at Atlanta. But I really do like Brad Keselowski. I think he's going to be fast here. This is a crown jewel for him. Also, Denny Hamlin, man. Like, this is another guy who I think Denny, he knows that like he's not the fastest at super speedway. So he's been very content with just kind of having a solid finishes at these tracks. And I'm kind of expecting the same for the number 11 car this week. Joey Logano, God, oh my God, Joey Logano burned me so bad early this year. I played him at both Daytona and Atlanta, and you got negative points from him. So like it's tough to trust Joey Logano, but if there's someone who could be a potential dominator this weekend in the Cup Series, I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting a lot of comers and goers with that fuel mileage game, but if there's a dominator, it's probably Joey Logano. Guy likes to lead freaking laps, man. A guy likes to lead laps. He likes to put down fast laps as well. Led 45 laps in the 500, led 27 laps at Atlanta, had 5 fastest laps at Daytona, 7 at Atlanta. So he can get you a lot of those bonus points. Hopefully he qualifies back far. Like, that's the issue with Joey Logano. If it comes Sunday, he's on the front row. I don't know. William Byron, I'm still pissed at him. I just can't get this guy right. And Rex Ross last week, but got to show him the respect. He's just always there at the end, man. Had a great day at Daytona. The 65 pointer has just been brilliant in DFS lately. His totals are 46, 95, 45, 60. You're getting safety with Byron. So I don't mind him. And man, old number one, old NASCAR's favorite driver, man, Chase Elliott. Dude is also just really, really good here at Talledega. His finishes here as of late include 7th, 12th, 1st, 7th. Like, can't go wrong with Chase Elliott this week. I don't think a lot of people are betting him for a back-to-back win, but maybe. I don't mind him, though. I honestly don't mind him this week. Like, he seems pretty safe. He always seems safe at Talladega. Daytona is usually where he kind of gets scrapped around a little bit more. Atlanta, too. So, yeah, I like Chase to kind of round out that top tier here. Let's drop down. Kyle Busch, man. First of all, I love Kyle Busch, dude. Like, this is a guy when I grew up, I grew up in a Dale Jr. household. I was a Jeff fan, but my brother and my stepdad, everyone loved Dale Jr. and Dale Earnhardt. So not a lot of Kyle Busch love growing up. I've learned to love this man. He appeared earlier this week on the Pat McAfee show. He's electric, man. He's an electric factory, and like, he's a great representative of this sport. So like, if you still hate Kyle Busch, come on, like, respect the man. He's awesome. And hey, he won this race last year too. Let's not forget about it. And also was this close to winning in Atlanta this year, 12th at Daytona. Also, when you look back further too, like 2022, I know that's a long time ago now for Kyle Busch. He had a top 3 finish here with Joe Gibbs Racing. So Kyle Busch can be interesting, I think, this week. Last week I played him just because he was starting so far back in the pack, but Kyle Busch at the price of 9.5, yeah, like he could honestly be, if you want to just not have any A-tier guys this week and like pay up for someone who can maybe give you a little more balance, Kyle Busch probably gonna be that guy for me if his qualifying isn't great, which, let's be honest, it really hasn't been this year. So I like Kyle Busch a lot, 9,500. And then Bubba Wallace, man. Yeah, Bubba Wallace. Shout out to Bubba Wallace. He's coming in here. 9,200 for him on DraftKings. He's still around that 20 marker if you're playing on Fantrax in a season long. Bubba just been super consistent lately. Point totals of 43, 52, 32, 23. Going back to Daytona, 61, 54 at Atlanta. We know he's good at super speedways. We know he's won here at Talladega before, rain shortened race, but albeit, man, I think Bubba Wallace has some really, really good upside this week. And at the price of 9.2, like, you could reasonably get away with a Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace stack in your lineup. I wouldn't hate that at all. I also, I like Martin Truex Jr. this week, guys. Just the price tag, 8,200 for a guy who's averaging the most DraftKings points in the garage at 50.3. Yeah, dude, like, sign me up, man. He's never won at a super speedway, so the upside probably capped a little bit. Scored you 41 at Daytona, scored you 37 at Atlanta. I mean, and those weren't even top 10 finishes, man. Those are 15, 12. So nothing about Truex sticks out to me for Talladega. It's just the price tag, man. He's even 22 to 1 outright, which isn't bad if you want him in the betting scene as well. Chris Buescher, kind of just like, he's got to follow Brad. If Brad's usually good at super speedways, Chris Buescher's usually out there. Talk about one of the best tandems in sport when it comes to super speedways. Top 10 finish at Atlanta earlier this year. And the guy's been rolling, man. The guy has been rolling. Outside of getting wrecked out in that Las Vegas race, he has not finished worse than 18th, man. Chris Buescher is not going to burn you this week. I don't think he has top 5 upside. If he finished top 5 or top 10, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think Chris Buescher's a fine look at 8,500, man. Like, I wouldn't mind stacking him in that, like, with a Brad Keselowski too. 85, 10-2. That's about 20,000 you're getting invested there for RFK Racing. I like it. And we talked about him earlier, though, guys. Chase Briscoe. And I don't play on FanDuel, but I was on Sean's podcast yesterday, and Sean told me he was like something disrespectful, like 5'9" on FanDuel. He's fucking 6'9" on DraftKings, guys. 6'9" for Chase Briscoe. This guy's been a clinic. Scored you 46 points at Daytona. Scored you 42 points 2 weeks ago. Scored you 38 last week. Like, he's on a roll, man. He's only had one bad race, and it was Atlanta when he got wrecked out. So Chase Briscoe, he scored a lot of top tens here. In the next gen, he scored 2 of them, 4th in this race last year. I'm just going back to the well with Chase Briscoe until he fails me. I'm just going back to the well with him, man. All right. So we also have, that's kind of rounding out my top tier, or my top 2 tiers there. Down in the C tier, Todd Gilliland. You can call me a stan. You can call me a lover. I don't care, man. I don't care. Todd Gilliland's going to have a great week, I think. He's going to finally get the finish he deserves. And at 6'1", like, he's around Josh Berry, Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie. Those guys are all priced more than Todd Gilliland this week. Tell me where to sign. Tell me where to sign for Todd Gilliland, because I'm signing up, guys. I like him a lot this week. I don't need to talk more about him, but Daniel Suarez, we know him and Ross are going to have some speed. I mean, we just had someone in the chat tell me Daniel Suarez is, or make me go look at Daniel Suarez's finishes. They're fucking good here. Scored 72 points for you at Atlanta, 51 last week. Yeah, Suarez, I'd probably play Suarez over Ross just for 7,200 for him versus Ross up at 8.7. Ross, though, man, like, he's won here at Talladega before, too. We can't take that for granted. And also looking at our next-gen total speed rankings, Ross is number 3 there. Ross is number 3. He always has speed at Talladega. It's just, can he get the finishes? That's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that to myself 2 weeks in a row. Michael McDowell, 34 car. Yeah, he's going to unload fast. Hopefully he doesn't qualify super well again, so he has a little bit more upside to him. He'll be super chalky, though. Ty Gibbs, top 10 finish for him at Daytona. I like him. Christopher Bell. It's really hard for me to kind of trust Christopher Bell this week, man. Like, I've been off him the last couple weeks because it just seems like whether it's, pit crew issues or whether it's him just getting wrecked, he doesn't seem to have the best luck. But third overall at Daytona, 8th in Talladega last year at this race. So I don't mind Chris Bell. It's just an expensive price to pay, Like, why pay for Chris Bell where he is at 8.3 when I can just get Martin Truex, who feels like a safer bet, for cheaper? I can get Chase Briscoe way cheaper, Suarez way cheaper. That's all I'm saying about him. Austin Cindric. Yeah, shout out Austin Cindric, man. He's, this is where he thrives. He was a real threat here at Atlanta earlier this season. Was mixing it up at Daytona, had a pretty bad finish there. But 5th at Talladega in the fall for Austin Cindric. So he could be a weapon out there. He's a candidate to lead a couple laps for you as well. That'll do the C tier there. All right, driver D. This is where we're getting weird here. Fuck it, man. Shane Van Gisbergen. We talked about him earlier for Xfinity. I like what he's been doing in that series. On the super speedways, no one's playing SVG in Cup DFS this week. I can tell you that much. No one wants him. 5,500 for a colleague car that finished top 10 at the Daytona 500, for a colleague car that has finished top 10 on super speedways a lot the last couple seasons. I like him. I like him a lot. I like SVG. That's some leverage of the week for me. Also, how about Justin Haley in that 51 car? I don't know about the equipment. Like, can that equipment finish the whole race? I don't know. But he looked good at Daytona. He looked good at Atlanta. He's looked good a lot of places this year. And he's a weapon when it comes to super speedway racing. We just need the finishes, Justin Haley. We just need the finishes. Like, I would just honestly hope one day Rick Ware Racing would just, like, I don't know, sell one of your charters. Just make Justin Haley the only guy. Because, like, we didn't talk about driver changes, but I don't know, man. I don't get why Rick Ware Racing does what they do. We have Cody Ware back in the 15 car this week. Cody Ware is never a Cup Series driver, man. Come on. But yeah, I think Justin Haley's got a little motivation coming in here. He needs a good finish for the season. I like him. And then I'm going to continue to beat the drum of Daniel Hemrick. The guy was optimal last week. He was optimal. A lot of people won some money because of Daniel Hemrick in the DFS scene last week. 41 fantasy points for him on the day. At Daytona, 49. At Atlanta, 35. Dude, he's going to start like 37th and he's going to finish like maybe top 20. I would love to bet Daniel Hemrick top 20 if there was a bet for him top 20. The guy's just been solid, man. I gave him a lot of shit for running this car, and like he's never going to probably have a top 10 this year, but he's going to score you DraftKings points, and that's what you need here. Noah Gragson. I like Noah Gragson a lot this week as well, 6,800. Honestly, like I almost thought about bumping up Noah Gragson potentially a tier. I just think he's going to be really chalky, not really offer you a lot of leverage because he did score 69. Yes, 69 points at Daytona this year in DraftKings points. So yeah, I like Gragson. Didn't really run well at Atlanta, got wrecked out on that one, but I think if he starts back farther enough, he could get a good finish. Guy seems like super speedway racing, so buckle him in. Eric Jones, we talked about him earlier. I think Eric Jones is a good play, but I think a lot of people like Eric Jones this week. And at 7,000, when I can just get Briscoe at 6'9" or Grayson at 6'8", McDowell at 6'7", Gilliland at 6'1", I don't think I'll have a lot of Eric Jones probably unless he qualifies really bad. Alex Bowman, this really hasn't been his track, but you know, when you're looking at what he did at the Daytona 500, second place finish, 48 DraftKings points, you'll take it. Probably just going to qualify pretty well. That's the thing with Bowman. He just doesn't offer you a lot of differential because this is another car that for whatever reason, I don't know if he's got those spiderweb gloves or whatever Joey Logano has, but Alex Bowman always qualifies well at super speedways. So just not a lot of upside for Bowman this week. Carson Hocevar. Yeah. Carson Hocevar, I think deserves to belong here. 5,800 for him. It's one of the cheaper prices you're going to get for him. Now, don't get me wrong. He could finish last. He did it in the Daytona 500, killed any lineups he had, minus 30. Also had 44 the next week at Atlanta. Got his first top 10 last week at Texas. Had 40 DraftKings points for you on the day as well. So yeah, I like a little bit of Carson Hocevar this week. Zane Smith. I mean, God. I saw a lot of people on the internet putting faith in Zane Smith last week. Just can't seem to put the race together. He had a good run going. He was up there in the top 10, had a different pit strategy that paid off for him. And, like he was good at Daytona. I played him in a lot of lineups in Daytona. I had a top 20 bet on him in Daytona. Like, I think he probably finishes top 20 here. So I don't mind Zane Smith, but 5,700, I don't know. That was a little much when I saw Haley and SVG a little bit cheaper. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., just a sign of respect. Man's won here before, but I talked about it. Hasn't had a great finish, is in the next gen. Austin Dillon. Finally, man. Austin Dillon finally decided to show up last week. Great to see him get his first top 10, 8th at Texas last week. But, I mean, was terrible here. Been wrecked out a lot of times this season. I just don't trust Austin Dillon. 7,300 for a guy who scored 16 points per race. No, I'm good on Austin Dillon. I don't even know why I'm having higher than Ryan Preece because I like SHR a little bit more this week. Ryan Preece is going to get you like 25 points this week. Like that's what he's probably going to get you. Got you 23 at Daytona, got you 32 at Atlanta. Like that's kind of who he is. Not a huge threat to finish high. Not a huge threat to lead laps here. I don't think he's led a lap all fucking damn season, honestly. But yeah, Ryan Preece, you could do worse than him, especially for the price tag this week, 6,400. I don't mind Preece. Corey LaJoie, I'm okay with Corey. I don't know. Tried playing him last week for a top 10 at some long odds. Wasn't bad. He was up there. He was like 12th with a couple laps to go. So I was pretty happy about that. Did score you 67 points at Daytona, 51 at Atlanta. Like these are the tracks Corey LaJoie shows up at. So if you want a guy who could get you a top 10 finish, it's Corey LaJoie. But everyone loves Corey LaJoie so much. And at 6,600, it's expensive a little bit for a dart throw and it's chalky. So that's the only issue I have with LaJoie. He's not going to give any leverage. I got Kyle Larson, the S. Listen, man, I don't know what it is, and I hate to say it, but like this guy just isn't great. This isn't great at super speedways. And like I played him a little bit in Daytona just because I thought he'd be a little bit of a leverage piece because he's so bad at super speedways. Ended up with an 11th place finish. but at 9,000, you just can't do it. You just can't do it. I don't know why he's so bad at super speedways, especially when he usually unloads fast. Like I even had a bet for him to win his duel earlier this year, and he was winning until the last freaking corner and got moved. He's just snake bitten, man. Hopefully, like it's better luck when he goes to the Indy 500 this year, because the guy's the most talented driver of our generation. Like, let's just be honest, but you just can't pay the price in DFS at 9,000 for a guy who got you 41 and minus 12 at the 2 super speedways this year. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on Kyle Larson. Surprise Sheep saying Talladega is LaJoie's worst super speedway with the way the season's going. I'll pass. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too, man. Like, again, like he's been good at super speedways, but this is definitely his worst one. And yeah, it just hasn't really had. I thought it was gonna be better at Texas, man. I thought he was. Tyler Reddick. I mean, he's just like the new Kyle Larson at super speedways. Guy is dog shit at super speedways. Got you minus 13 points at Daytona, got you 1 point at Atlanta. I'm good. I'm good on Tyler Reddick, man. 8,000 flat. Oh, dude. I mean, you can get so much more with $8,000. Pay two more thousand, you get Martin Truex. Pay less, you can get, I mean, all the guys we talked about: Suarez, Jones, Briscoe, Gregson, like just so many better plays than Tyler Reddick this week. Josh Berry, same deal. Josh Berry's a short track racer. He's not a super speedway guy. Really off my board this week. John Hunter Nemechek started to regress a little bit, man, after a pretty hot start for Nemechek. Just kind of starting to get involved things. Finishes the 34th and 36th the last 2 weeks. Kind of becoming a liability more than he is a value in DFS circles. So I'm good on JHN this week. I don't think I'm going to be playing him unless he starts like 36th, 35th this week and has some differential move up. But I mean, 45 points at Daytona and 34 at Atlanta. So like at least deserves to be on the board. And all BJ McLeod, man. BJ McLeod, glad to have him back. 5,100. Didn't even make the 500 this week, but showed a lot of promise here in that door earlier this year. And they're a team. They sold their charter in the off season, so you're hoping that potentially maybe that the races they show up they'll be a little faster at. Look, he started 36 at Atlanta, finished 24th, had 7 fastest laps. That's good for 33 points. You know, he's not the 4,800 he was when we went to Atlanta earlier this year, guys. But still, I really think that BJ McLeod has a little bit to him this week as well. So, and also I've talked about it, I think, before on this show and other shows. Love Team Live Fast. Nobody loves racing more in the Cup Series than Team Live Fast. Got a chance to chat with Matt Tift, who's no longer with the team, but got a chance to chat with them and their PR people and their videographer over the weekend when we were in Pocono last year. And great people, great human beings, man. Such great humans. So excited for a little BJ McLeod action this week. But yeah, guys, those are my DFS tiers for the week. We gave out the best bets. I can't believe I've been talking for an hour and 7 minutes already. But I just want to, before we get going here, I just want to shout out the IBT family. Thank you guys so much for building such a big community around our NASCAR content, both here on the Backroad and the NASCAR betting preview show, which is on Wednesday nights with Derek Yoder and the gang. It's really a joy, man, that I can come on here and bullshit with y'all for an hour plus about NASCAR betting, NASCAR DFS, and life in general. And like, it never gets dull because I know I have, a bunch of friends sitting in the chat, hanging out with me. I actually got to talk with our guy, Bob Bodner, in the chat. He called me last weekend. Excited to see him at Dover in a couple weeks. I guess that's next week. Got to get on that. Dover's coming up. Excited to hang out with Bob and see him. So if you guys want more NASCAR content, make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel here at IBT_media on YouTube. Make sure you guys are checking us out on all our platforms as well. We got a nice Twitter following going over there, and the website inbetweenmedia.com. Elliot gives out his picks weekly. I give him out a more expandable DFS column. Ozzy does his favorite prop bet of the week. So a lot of NASCAR content. Of course, our PGA guys are tearing it up. They called Scotty last week. They called Bryson DeChambeau first round leader. And I think like a lot of NASCAR fans, I might be wrong, but I think a lot of NASCAR fans are also golf fans too. So I think that's one cool thing. We got a lot of fantasy football and NFL content, lifestyle entertainment as well. So make sure you're checking us out everywhere we're available. Elliot's going to actually have a bonus video for you this week with his thoughts. He was bummed out he couldn't be here. He loves super speedway racing. He loves Talladega. So I'm going to upload that sometime, I think tomorrow. So make sure you're checking out what Elliot has to say as well. Greatly appreciate it. All the support, guys. Spry Sheep saying in the chat, saying we appreciate it. Started a fantasy NASCAR league this year, and these streams have helped me a ton. I'm 7-2 so far, bro. That's awesome, man. I'm curious, Spry, is that one that you have like a head-to-head matchup every week? That's cool. If that's the case, I've never played in a head-to-head league. I have like kind of like a rotisserie league where you score like total points for the year over on Fantrax, but I kind of like head-to-head. That's kind of a cool idea if that's what you're doing over there. And I'm really glad to hear that Elliot, myself, and Rod have been a big help, man. We love doing it, dude. It's something I'm super passionate about each and every week. Like I start like this week, I couldn't even look at NASCAR content, guys, for like probably till Tuesday. I think I started looking at content, looking at odds and pricing because I was so bummed out that Ross had a bad week and he got spun and lost a lot of money just from Ross falling out of the top 10 there. So I was like, need to get back. And, by the time the week's picking up and odds are getting released, everyone on Twitter is getting excited. And then by the time I get in here on Thursday nights, like I'm juiced, I'm ready. I can't wait. I told Kay, I said, yeah, I'm going down to Maryland on Saturday to play some NFL draft bets. You can't bet on the NFL draft in Pennsylvania for whatever reason. So I'm going down to Maryland to play some NFL draft bets, linking up with one of my fantasy football industry buddies, Herms. Super excited for that. And then coming back, I'm going to watch the Xfinity race probably on replay. But I was like, Katie, I'm excited. We got Xfinity race Saturday night. Like, let's have fun. And, she's great. Any different than any other weekend? No, it's the same every other weekend here in the Woolcock household. But Sprite Sheep saying, yep, we take DK salaries and make lineups every week head-to-head. That's cool, bro. That's really, really cool. Very, very cool. I'm glad to hear that we've been a help for you over here, dude. I'm going to get going, guys. Thanks again so much for tuning in. Again, Elliot's going to have his video drop tomorrow. We'll have some clips out over the weekend for our various shows as well. You can check out. We'll have a show. I think Elliot and I are actually be live in person together. We're going to change up my setup next week for the show. He's going to come out here. He's going to spend the night Thursday, and then we're heading to Dover for the whole weekend. So a shit ton of content coming for Dover. Greatly appreciate everyone, all the members of the IBT family stopping in tonight. We'll catch you guys next time. Until then, you know what to do. Keep it in between. Thank you.